Pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the meeting to order and establish quorum. Roll call, please.
Jaggers.
Here.
Palmer.
Here.
Wallstead.
Yes.
Yates. Thompson. Pettit.
Yes. Oops, I guess I need to do next, don't I? There we go. Discussion possible action to approve a letter of intent to complete and submit the opioid abatement grant award application to the Office of the Attorney General.
So this is a grant opportunity that what we're actually voting on tonight is just for a letter of intent. So it's not the actual application. Once we send the letter of intent, they would send us the application. This is a partnership within the community that we're excited about. It would be Bethany Public Schools, Southern Nazarene University, and the city of Bethany. And we've met a little bit to talk a little bit about the potential of applying for this grant. And right now we're still exploring what the grant could do for all the members of the community in different groups. But for us, I know we have some interest in some counseling services for our students and families, mainly as it would relate to addiction and things like that. I know we've had some students that we've identified may have some, early addiction with vaping and things like that, that we obviously have provided some counseling with, but we would also like to expand that to be able to be offered at SNU. SNU would provide the services for those things, and we would make referrals, but we're excited about what it could do for our students, but also our families as we see the need. And so this is just to initiate a letter of intent that we would like to make an application for the grant is what we'd be voting on tonight. And I've got a couple of guests with us from SNU. Scott Secor and Karen Poteet are here to, if we have questions about what that might look like and their ideas as well. Again, most of the counseling services would be provided through Southern Nazarene University. So.
And even though this says opioid, it's far-reaching for addictions in general.
Yeah, there was a list of things. I'll let you guys talk a little bit about your understanding about it as well. But.
In terms of what I've understood it to be, it's pretty all-encompassing in terms of addiction in general. So I think it's not just a narrow scope of opioids. Obviously that can be addressed through this, but it's all sorts of things like we had talked about vaping and things of that nature that I think it'll kind of the grant itself allows for a scope that can kind of reach that direction. So it seems like a lot of things that probably are happening in a school setting that we can probably head off a little bit or provide service for. Yeah.
Is this a new grant that's being offered, or has this been offered before?
It's brand new. I don't know if you recall, but a year or two ago, there was a settlement with Big Pharma, the pharmacies that manufacture the opioids that cause the addictions. And so the Attorney General's office of Oklahoma is overseeing this grant. This will be the first grant offering, and they're offering $23 million across the state for this funding, which is restricted to applicants being municipalities, school districts, career centers, those public kind of entities, rather than opening it up to the private sector.
Which would be why we would be kind of filtering the letter of intent application through Bethany Public Schools.
How is the dollar amount determined? Is it divided among the applicants, or is it based on the size?
There's very limited information released so far by the AG's office, but I think it's determined by what category that a public entity falls into. Like, they'll look at how many school districts applied, how many municipalities applied, how many of the other categories, and then they'll make that decision on how to, but so far it's pretty nebulous on how they're gonna divide up the $23 million.
And I would say too, you know, we've talked a little bit as we get the application, as we go through the process, there could come a time where we decide, you know what, I don't think this is for us, because there is a lot of information that hasn't been clarified or provided. And so this is letter of intent. We were thinking about applying, we're considering applying, and it's approval to do that. But again, we have a lot to learn about their intent of what it is. They have a list of things that it's for. Some of those seem to fit, some of those clearly don't fit our school district, but we'd like to explore the opportunity of what it could provide. And I know there was a time where the applications were due, and they extended that because we weren't gonna be able to get it in time for our board meeting for approval. And they went ahead and extended that to November 8th is the new deadline, so it'd just be a couple days to get your letter of intent in. So I don't know if that was a lack of interest or letters of intent being submitted that they extended that, but maybe it might mean more opportunities for those who do so.
All right, I think the idea of a partnership is great, so it's a good idea.
Have a motion on 3?
Move approval of item 3?
Second?
Roll call vote.
Jaggers,
Yes.
Palmer,
Yes.
Olmsted.
Yes.
Pettit,
Yes. Item 4, consent agenda. 4A was the minutes of the last meeting. Any changes or?
Thank you.
Thank you. Any, we'll move on to the financial fund reports.
Okay, so you're gonna see first up is the activity fund for October. We have an ending balance in the activity fund of $606,412.55. You can view and see where each of the activity funds are through the summary of accounts. I am going to flip through, if there are no questions about activity fund, to the general fund revenue tracking sheet. And so just stop me if you have questions. We are looking pretty good. So we are up 400,000 on the first page, which is our state revenue. And mostly that's just because we have increased state aid because of the teacher pay raises. So we're seeing a huge increase there. We did have most of the increase comes from the foundation and incentive aid, which is up 300,000 from last year just because of pay raises. And then for school land, we're up about $8,000 from where we were last year at the same time. And then when we go into looking at the federal funding, we haven't collected any more federal funding because we're still working through getting all of our federal programs approved. But we are looking pretty good. We are up 600,000 for our cash balance from where we were last year. Our expenditures are up a little bit. They're up 500,000 as compared to last year. This once again is because we have purchased turf, which have been some pretty expensive things that we've done, so that's caused us to have a little bit more expense. We also have some salary increase because of the pay raises. So, but everything's staying pretty much on track. Then when we flip to the next page, we have the encumbrance for the board approval. And I am going to go ahead and draw your attention. We had a duplicate purchase order that has been closed. 479 and 493 were duplicates, and we have closed 479. And then so if you...
So it's 12.7 is the price?
Yeah, that's the price for the Olympia prep. And we are actually, just so you're aware, that qualifies under the ESSER 3 funds that we have for learning loss, and so that isn't actually going to be coming from our general fund. It's going to be coming from federal sources of money.
Can you speak to a little bit about that particular?
Yeah, I totally
product?
can. So something that I feel strongly about, and I'll talk about in my school improvement plan, is our ACT score is low. The kids that took it last year, in April, the juniors that took it, it's a state mandated test now, and so it was 19.98 was our average out of the 160 kids that took it that day. And I thought, that's unreal. Like, how can we increase this? Well, I think it starts obviously with teachers, but if we can have an outside source come by and use it. I used it at Piedmont, and we saw like I want to say it was 3/4 to a point or a point increased by just using them for one day, plus the supplemental things they do as well. And so their original cost that they quoted us at was $25,000 to come by and do 1 day of remediation plus some online stuff. And talking to Dr. Jasper, Dr. Bellows, and I got together and we got them down to basically half off and said we still want the best of the best package. And those two did a great job at talking to them and like, listen, we just can't afford that much money. And so it's going to give the kids a free practice test, all the resources available. And if you were to do this individually, I don't know how much it is per hour, but it's super expensive. But they guarantee if you do it individually, like if you take your kid right now, do Olympia prep for, let's say 2-3 months, I think they said a guaranteed 3 to 5 point increase on your ACT. A guarantee, like that's just what they do. And so we thought this is a no-brainer. How can we get them involved? And we whittled them down to as close to a fair amount that we thought. And I think 12,000 is, I think that's what that's really good considering, the initial quote was 25. And this, having those two guys, Dr. Bells and Dr. Jasper, talk them down has been really good. They worked wonders with them.
We're also using them for AB prep, I saw as well.
Yeah, so you'll,
Okay.
I was gonna say, you'll also see later on, in the purchase order list, Olympia Prep for 2,600. That is the AP tutoring, for math, yeah.
I know talking to Mr. Jewell, and I think he's used them in the past as well, so he has some experience with them, so that was encouraging. And I just know there's a lot of families, especially in high school, who are searching for resources to help their kids. And my daughter went to a weekend thing, and but we're kind of searching for that. And so just talking to Mr. Jewell about how can we help parents rather than them having to always go out and find their own resources and ways to help kids, how do we help all the kids? And he had experience with them, and I look forward to seeing how they work for all the kids, not just the ones actively seeking it out, and being able to provide that for everybody. So
Thank you.
So when does that start? I know we're gonna be looking at the contract a little bit, but.
Yeah, it's just something that we have to meet with the counselors and figure out like what's best for them to do a practice test. The state mandated test is in April.
Right.
And so we want to do it way before then. We want to do it, but we want to do it in a time frame where it's still.
It's got time to actually do
Yeah,
some good.
it's not like you don't want to do it in December and then they got until April, they kind of lose thought. But we tier it, we step it where it's based off of their PS or pre-ACT scores. So what we do is we say, listen, if I took the test, the pre-ACT, and I scored a 12 to 15, I'm in this group. If I did 15 to 18, I'm in this group. 18, and so we step it based off their level. So what we don't want to see is kids that are making 30s on pre-ACTs in a class with kids that are making 12. We don't want to see that because there are different things they're trying to accomplish. Like they're more specific, like, hey, I need math help, or I need English help, I need science help. Not the basic fundamentals of, hey, there's 4 questions, it's a 25% chance. What about one? Now it's 33%. There's just different levels, and that's what this company does. My experience with Piedmont has been really great with those guys at Olympia Prep, and I'm super stoked that we can partner with them again. And hopefully, you'll see my goal up here soon. It's a lofty goal, but I think it's fair, and I think it's equitable for everybody. It's required by a state to do it. We might as well give them the best shot we can.
Sure.
Yeah, that's great.
Absolutely.
So the radios, how many radios does that buy?
That is gonna be 45 radios, and
Wow.
so, and I can elaborate on that a little bit. This is gonna be, when you're in the elementary, sometimes you can't hear the walkie-talkie at the high school. And so it's gonna be able to help us purchase a receiver where we can hear our walkie-talkies anywhere on the premises. And that's gonna be paid for with the security grant funds that we were awarded from the State Department.
I think too, it actually goes all the way out to the stadium. I think
Yeah.
they're on Northwest Expressway. They could still, which,
Yeah.
we're not even close to that right now. And as she said, there are times where messages are not getting through from admin to maintenance, and that's a big problem when that's your main form of communication when something is happening right now. So.
Good.
And on 494, the vape detectors, is that for installation as well, or is that?
I'll let Mr. Jewell, I don't think it includes installation, I think Mr. Jewell installs them.
You guys are getting on the school improvement plan before it's coming, and y'all need to know something. This is something that is, it's been a thorn in my side since I got here. Safety and security is our top priority with education along, but to get education, you gotta be safe and secure. And to hear the stories from kids coming to me and saying, I can't even use the bathroom because it's just like kids are just vaping there all the time. It's unacceptable. So if you ever see me during the day, I'm sitting right outside the bathroom and it's 1 in, 1 out. And five in, then 1 in, 1 out. And when we installed our vape detectors, and this is my school improvement plan, you'll see it's been comical. I mean, I was getting 10 hits a day. Because what happens is they'll smoke, it'll send me a text message, I'll go in there, I'll grab every kid in there, I'll bring them to my office, me and Mr. Marshall, we'll wand them, we'll search them, we'll scan them. But once we got a couple kids that really had stuff with them, the other kids that were doing this or bringing it to school realized, like, wait a second, I don't want to do this. Because you're going to get long-term suspended, you're going to get a ticket from the city of Bethany, and we're going to hold you accountable as much as we can, make this school as safe as possible. So we have really good success. The ones we bought right now, the one like specifically in the boys' bathroom over here is battery powered, and so it has to change the battery every month or two, and it only works on motion. So I don't think it gets everybody, but it gets a lot. The ones we're getting, we got 12, 8 for the middle school and 4 for the high school. They're on power, on all the time. So it's not a motion sensor. It's you walk in the bathroom, it detects the nanograms per milliliter in the air, some science that I have no idea about. But I'll tell you this much, it works. And I would tell you our success rate of kids that when it goes off and it texts me and I walk in there and I grab the kids, they know, they're like, okay. I mean, the last kid we just got last week, literally went off, grabbed them, brought them in. I said, hey, something's going on. It's going off and you're the only one in there. Do you have anything you want to show me? No. I'm going to wand you just so you're aware. And if you don't participate, we're going to call the police and they're going to search you. And then it's an immediate, here you go. You know, then they're gone for a couple. And of course, we don't want them to be gone, but at the same time, we want to hold them accountable. That stuff's not okay, guys. You can't buy it till you're 21. So I'm not going to allow that to occur at our school, and I'll do everything I can to stop it. And Dr. Bellows, people just laugh because I'm just standing there every hour on the hour passing period. But guess what? It's adding the vape detectors has worked. I mean, the numbers speak for themselves, and I can give you all the data you want, but you'll see it in my slideshow. It's dramatically different. I mean, I get like 1 or 2 a day, maybe. And back when we first started, it was 10 to 15 a day. There's a problem, a major problem, and we're stopping it as best we can. And it goes with those guys. They're the ones who have to support it, and they've been really good supporting us doing it.
Any other questions? Okay, I'm gonna keep going. There is just one new building fund purchase order for $3,000 to Home Depot just for supplies to do some repairs and painting. The next we have the function summary report, and we have put in all the appropriations that you guys approved for the budget in October. And so when you flip to the last page, or when you see the bottom totals, all of our totals from our budget are put in now, and we don't have any negatives, and it looks really good. And we're on track. And then I think that is everything for those, unless you have some questions about those. And while you're looking at that, the next item, I believe.
Activity fund, high school media activity fund.
And I think that is just an update for that activity fund.
Sure. I have a motion for the consent.
Motion to approve item 4, A through D.
Second?
Roll call vote.
Jaggers,
Yes.
Palmer,
Yes.
Wallstad,
Yes.
Pettit.
Yes. Item 5, board to consider and take action on a resolution determining the maturities of and setting a date, time, and place for the sale of $850,000 general obligation combined purpose bonds of the school district. That's
This
our-
is just the regular sale of bonds that we do every year. And we'll have the special board meeting for the sale of bonds at our December board meeting ahead of time at 5:30. And the resolution that has been provided is provided for our bond advisor. So we don't write that, they provide it for us.
Move approval of item 5.
Second.
Roll call
Jaggers.
vote.
Sorry. Jaggers.
Yes.
Palmer.
Yes.
Wellsted.
Yes.
Pettit.
Yes. Next. Item 6, board to consider and take action on the resolution for election of board seats number 1 and 4 for 2024.
Whose seats are those?
It is going to be Miss Palmer's seat and Miss Yates' seat.
Oh, that's right. This one's
Yeah, to fill out the term.
Motion to approve item 6.
Second?
Roll call vote.
Jaggers.
Yes.
Palmer.
Yes.
Wellsted.
Yes.
Pettit.
Yes. And item 7, discussion possible action changing the name and purpose of the 951 Public Relations Activity Account to Central Office Hospitality and starting a bonfire t-shirt fundraiser for the fund.
Okay, so I can explain this. So we are wanting to have an activity fund for central office that's a hospitality fund. So that when, and only adults will contribute to it, so that we're able to purchase food for teachers if we were to have a hospitality event for them, or if we were to have a speaker to come, we would be able to purchase food and things like that. We'd also be able to host different events, be able to provide refreshments, purchase different things that we might want to do for people around the school district. So if we change the name, this fund doesn't have any money in it currently, so we're just repurposing it. And then we're also requesting to be able to do a t-shirt fundraiser to start getting some funds to put in that, so that we're able to buy flowers if we need to buy flowers for somebody who lost a loved one or something like that, so.
Motion to approve number 7.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Jaggers.
Yes.
Palmer.
Yes.
Wellsted.
Yes.
Pettit.
Yes. Item 8, discussion possible action to approve or not approve the regular board meeting calendar for 2024.
So on this one, you saw the idea to move it to the second Tuesday of every month, and there are some reasons that will be helpful to both the business office, also to getting business on the agenda. The Tuesday instead of Monday, because that would enable us to put some things on Monday if we forgot something or just need to add something at the last minute, where we don't have that possibility of doing it on Friday to Monday. So I know that there are going to be some dates that Tuesday night sometimes has more activities and things on it. So there are some dates that there's some conflict with some basketball games and things like that. But as far as the business side of things, it certainly would be better for adding things to the agenda and the financials being completed and things like that. So it's kind of a trade-off there, but open to discussion about it as well.
Better meets your needs. I think works fine for me anyway.
It's fine with me.
Motion to approve item 8.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Jaggers.
Yes.
Palmer.
Yes.
Wellsted.
Yes.
Pettit.
Yes. Item 9, discussion possible action to approve or not approve the following board policy revisions: the table of contents and BN record retention and archival of electronic mail transmissions.
So this one, it kind of comes from last year, I think. I got an email from OSSBA, and they had this update, and I kind of asked them, where this was coming from, and I think it had been asked about how long to retain certain records, and on one of the areas it said permanent, and they just changed that to make it 80 years, which makes sense. I don't think many people are going to be requesting records after 80 years of graduating, but so I think it's just that change, and it had come up again from another district asking, and that's why it reminded them to send us something too. So that's what it is.
Motion to approve item 9?
Second.
Roll call vote.
Jaggers,
Yes.
Palmer,
Yes.
Olmsted,
Yes.
Pettit,
Yes. Item 10, discussion to approve or not approve the fiscal year 2023 E-rate contracts awarded to United Systems through competitive bidding. Contracts to include Category 2 internal connections, basic maintenance, and managed internal broadband services. Bethany's district portion is highlighted, and all the quotes, 50% of the total cost is Bethany's E-rate discount. Question?
Are there any big upgrades or anything from
No,
this?
we're kind of toward the end of our 5-year budget. We have 2 more this cycle, this year and then next year, but we spent a lot of that money up front. We spent, forget how much our total award is. It's like $238,000 or something. We spent a lot of that already with the new access points and some of the other upgrades and stuff. So this is kind of this switch in the high school that's in the library here is not enclosed, and a lot of the parts are original to to when we put everything in here. So it's kind of upgrading this rack. It's also upgrading the rack that's in the middle school to provide some more space for additional items that we need to add. But really the only thing that is the one that we will need a purchase order for is the Category 2 internal connections. The other 2, the basic maintenance and managed services, broadband services, we already get those discounts with our United Complete contract, so they pass those along to us through that. So it's really just the hardware we need to get ordered is the main thing there. So.
And is there anything that's like next? Like if this is the end of
Well,
this, is there...
I talked to David Lossy at United Systems, is kind of their E-rate kind of guru over there, and they're kind of having their first request for new items to be added once we get to 2025. So they might expand that E-rate program into more. Right now, it's more connections in your school and getting broadband to schools and making sure everybody's connected and things like that. But most people have done that through these last 2 cycles, so they're looking at some other things you can spend that money on when the time comes. Maybe personal, devices for students. You can't really buy those now with that money, but they're looking at, possibly opening up to that in the future here. So
Very nice.
Motion to approve item number 10?
Second.
Roll call vote.
Jaggers,
Yes.
Palmer,
Yes.
Olmsted,
Yes.
Pettit,
Yes.
Thank you. Thanks for your knowledge.
Item 11, discussion possible action to approve or not approve the following out-of-town, out-of-state overnight trips. A, special services staff members Samantha Williams and April Arthur to attend Oklahoma Psychological Association Annual Conference in Tulsa, Oklahoma, November 29th, 2023 through December 1st, 2023. Expenses to be paid out of Project 621 funds. B, STUCO sponsors and students to attend OASC State Convention in Owasso, Oklahoma, November 11th through the 13th. Expenses to be paid out of the STUCO activity fund. C, track and field coaches and students to attend the Class 4A State Track and Field Championships in Catoosa, Oklahoma, May 3rd through 4th. Expenses to be paid out of the high school track and field activity fund. D, boys basketball coaches and students to Lincoln Christian Tournament in Tulsa, Oklahoma, January 4th through 6th. Expenses to be paid out of the high school boys basketball activity fund. Questions?
Motion to approve item 11.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Jaggers,
Yes.
Palmer,
Yes.
Olmsted,
Yes.
Pettit,
Yes. 12, discussion possible action to approve or not approve the following contracts agreements for fiscal year 24. A, Overland charters for the senior class trip in the amount of $10,572. B, Olympia Prep for advanced mathematics tutoring in the amount of $294 per week for 6 hours of instruction and $49 per hour for each additional hour needed each week. C, Audio Vision LLC for the Bronco High School Corral AV upgrades in the amount of $4,779.
Speak to Olympia Prep real quick. Again, Mr. Jewell reached out to Olympia Prep and just asked, hey, we've kind of got a unique need, and we wonder if you'll put together a package for us, and really just worked back and forth with them to come up with this. And you know, we feel like for our students who are in classes that have been affected by long-term substitutes and things like that, this is the least we can do to try to help those kids have the best chance possible to be successful on their exams. And so I think that's a great, also can be paid out of ESSER funds. So we're excited about being able to provide that really to all students, but specifically those who are trying to prepare for AP tests, that we don't want them to have any kind of disadvantage for circumstances. And then also the Bronco Corral, we've known that has needs some updates to how we connect to it. And there's some other things we're looking at in there as well, but this is one that's highly needed as well. So.
Motion to approve item 12?
Second.
Roll call vote.
Jaggers.
Yes.
Palmer.
Yes.
Wellsted.
Yes.
Pettit.
Yes. Item 13. Yes.
13.
Okay. Discussion possible action to approve or not approve the following people for the mentor team for Presley Bellinger. First year teacher Beth Meek, Christina Brown, Chad Martineau, and David Jewell.
Motion to approve number 13.
Second?
Roll call vote.
Jaggers.
Yes.
Palmer.
Yes.
Wellsted.
Yes.
Pettit.
Yes. Staff reports.
Yeah, you go ahead, Michelle.
I have.
Hold on, one sec. We're doing the presentation now? Is that,
Well,
Has-
we're on staff reports.
yeah, we're on staff
Okay,
report
yeah.
so far.
Oh, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
Oh,
That's 14A.
Yeah,
We're
that'll
not-
be next. That'll be
We're not
next.
going to-
she's ready.
She's
though.
excited,
ready.
though. I love it.
She's ready.
Excitement.
Any questions or comments on the reports? Lots of good stuff going on.
Lots of good stuff. It's getting busy, isn't it?
Yes,
I
it
mean,
is.
not as though it hadn't been busy, but it's
Yeah.
getting ready to go into the winter time.
Okay, now we're ready.
Now see if Mr. Forrester is.
That's right, now I got ready here.
This way.
Yeah.
We can look at.
Do it.
We need something over here. You guys.
We need something.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Turn around.
Alright, so these are our demographics for this year. You'll see that, obviously our breakdown right there. We have about 771 to 75 students currently enrolled. It's varied because we have had some students drop and others enroll, but it's around 775 right now from pre-K through 5th. Ooh, went twice. There we go. Attendance, it's very comparable. Our attendance rate at this point last year versus this year is almost identical. So we're sitting at about 96.7% in our daily attendance rate. Some of the changes at the elementary, we are having monthly RTI meetings. RTI is not something new. We have been having that for academic. This year we're really being more intentional with also having them monthly for behavior. Last year there were several months where we would kind of have to miss for behavior or academic, and so we really wanted to prioritize that. And so about every other week we're meeting with teachers to see how we can best support our students and our staff. Behavior is something that we see a lot as a need that really impacts our teachers and is what causes a lot of their stressors, and so we're really wanting to be intentional and following up and getting together to look at what's going on in your classes, how can we support you. And so Mrs. Williams sits in on those, our counselors, our SPED teachers, because they often are ones who will work with a lot of problematic behaviors, and so we really all collaborate with each grade level and it's been really beneficial so far. We also are continuing our attendance monitoring, so we always do parent letters. Last year we really got more intentional with making parents aware by also assigning consequences for unexcused absences. I'm trying to just let them realize the significance of your kids need to be here, which is kind of a hard thing, but we don't just want to be punitive in nothing that we do in our practices. We want to just focus on that. It's really more of helping parents realize the significance of, yes, you are gone and they may naturally do really well, but it is still loss of instruction. And so we're really trying to help parents see the value of that, and also for those who just don't call in to say, this matters, we need to know what's going on, we need your students here so they can succeed. But what we're excited about are the student rewards. We will be, we were meeting even today to really finalize what that'll look like, and so we're going to be doing small rewards each quarter, and then with a big trip. We are not looking at perfect attendance, but really looking at 3 or less per quarter, because we're really wanting to up that. What you may have seen over here, our attendance rate looks amazing. Like, that's really great. However, we have a large population of students who are chronically absent, and that's what the state looks at, and so that's something that we're really trying to address, is that chronic absenteeism. With math facts, that was something we started last year with reflex math, and you can see that just at the bottom, one of those charts that we can already see of their fluency report. And then to supplement that, another part of their program is FRAX, which is more like fraction, and that's really helping kids to gain those math facts so that they're fluent now. That way it'll benefit them in middle school and high school when they're doing more advanced math skills. And this year, what I'm really excited about is we are prioritizing closing specific learning gaps. So we're doing that by looking at some of our STAR data, and there is actually an end-of-year predictor that's based on and aligned with our state test. And so rather than just looking at kids meeting benchmark, we are looking at what is it saying they will be at when they take that state test, and where are their gaps, and how can we be really intentional with that. And then also really making sure this year that we have a lot of coordination between service times. A lot of students who struggle are SPED and EL. So they might have a learning disability and a language barrier. Or maybe they're not identified yet, but they might have a language need and we know they struggle. And so really making sure that they're getting the most supports to close their various gaps so they can succeed. Up here you'll see some pictures of some of the relationship and community building things. We do Fire Wagon every year in October. We still have our village program, which you've heard about in our board reports. Our PTO has about 350 members this year, which is amazing. We've already done some engagement of breakfast with Broncos. We have different restaurant nights. I think that's about every other month, and we just had our first skate night. And then we have volunteer opportunities. We had a lot of parents at our Bronco Go and Glow that was here at the high school back in October, and it was really fun. Just to see the parents who came to attend, the parents who have helped, because obviously these kids are not raising funds on their own, and so to see their involvement. And then we've also had Bedlam Wars and various meals that they host for our staff. At Camp Classen, you'll see we also had about 70, which mind you, we have classes of 120, 125 students, and we had about 70 family members there between the counselors and our visitors, which is really amazing. And then at STEAM Night, that just happened last week, we had over 100 families represented, and it was really great because those activities, they weren't created by our teachers, it was truly partnerships with our community. And so whether that was OU Flight School, we had some osteology, I believe, from OU, we had OSU Engineering, so we just had a lot of great partnerships within the community, which is fun. So we have our families and other organizations. Success stories. We met our goal of our fundraiser. We raised $51,000 at our Bronco Go and Glow. Our family engagement, we've had 95.8% participation. We had most of those on campus. Some were done through digital meetings. Others, if needed, were over the phone, but still, that was really great. We have been the Healthy Schools Oklahoma School of the Year. And if you drive by our ECC, you're going to see a lot of changes. We actually got some concrete poured today. I didn't get it put in here, but I have tons of pictures of the great things happening there. I know our PTO partnered with that. Some of that came from our general funds, and then also various donors. So we have a lot of good things happening there to really help improve that environment for our students. Here's a review of our third grade test scores. You'll see last year's scores are the light blue, the year prior are dark blue, and then the state average from last year are in orange. So we are clearly well above our state average in both subject areas. Then in fourth grade, we are also above the state average. And this is also looking at proficient and advanced, which is where you want your students to be. And then here is fifth grade. So here's an update on the goals from last year. The first goal was for each subject area for us to better balance our scores. So what we saw is that some subjects are doing really, really well and others were maybe scoring lower. And so we just wanted to be able to be within a 20% range of across the board where we're hitting. And so we did that by meeting with teachers last year and developing plans of what are some common strategies we're going to use. One of those was cubes. So regardless of what grade you're in, you need the cube strategy. And so trying to get the common teaching practices so that way it's continuing to build upon itself rather than learning something new each year. And so that was kind of just laying the groundwork. You'll see that our ELA scores were within 21% of each other, so we're really close to that 20% goal. And then math scores were within 19% of each other, so that was our range of score. The second goal was to achieve scores 30% above the state averages in all grade levels in all subjects. We did hit that in third grade ELA and in our fifth grade science. We came really close in fifth grade ELA and pretty close in math as well. So we are, as you can see though, regardless of the subject area or grade, we were still above the state average in all of them, which is something we can be very proud of. Our goals for this year, when looking at the state report cards, which they are not finalized yet, however, one of the areas that we were lower in was actually our student growth outcomes. So it looks at where students were in the predictor of where they should have scored, and that was one of our lower areas and one that is worth a lot. So our goal is to increase student growth outcome scores by 10% for each subject area, as identified on the state accountability report. We will do that by utilizing our STAR state assessment prediction data that I talked about earlier. That's going to drive instruction, and then also continuing to implement those common instructional practices. Our teachers, that's something that they've been talking about already. That's something I'm meeting with team leads, and in any room I go in, you can see they're looking at what are the areas that kids are missing and how can we look at things differently. So whether that's changing how they're teaching and structuring classrooms on Fridays, to is it looking at doing more like lower elementary where we're having more of those small groups and stations and they're rotating. So they're really getting creative and saying this may be what we've always been done and what we're comfortable with, but how can we do better to meet these gaps? And then our second goal is to increase the percent of students in good attendance from 90, that's our current percent, is 90.75 to 95% as identified on the state accountability report. I'm hopeful that by continuing to reach out to families regarding attendance, to also entice our students to want to be here. You'll see in middle and high school, they tend to have exemption trips and they kind of have more buy-in. We know littles, they're not driving themselves here. Some of them do walk themselves, but we're really trying to have it where they have a desire to come. So, any questions?
Yes. Thank you very much. Very great information. Things are going well, I can tell. So that you said that your second goal was to continue to drive that attendance. Earlier, you had mentioned that that you were making an emphasis to visit with those families, and often you hear our student is doing well, so we're going to take off this Friday. So how's that been received when you have those conversations with families?
Not always great. I'm going to be honest. A lot of them, because what we ran into with COVID is so many got used to just being able to kind of operate in different schedules. Some of those it really is explaining that yes, your child is doing well now, but they're still missing instruction. So they might be able to get the worksheet taken home and complete it, but they're still missing on vital instruction. So a lot of times it will come to understanding. Are they initially frustrated? Yes, because we've kind of developed this habit of it's okay to be gone whenever we need to. And I tell them, I acknowledge, like, someone won a trip last year for her company, and she's like, it is like once in a lifetime. I said, take the trip. I understand it. I am not going to make you feel guilty. However, I want you to understand they are losing instruction, and because of that, these are our policies. And so, yeah, it's not always positive. I do my best to continue to explain the importance of why we're here, and that right now they might be able to close those gaps, but there could come a point where they aren't because they are missing out on instruction. So,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Any other questions?
On that second goal, what was the definition of good attendance?
That is actually a quote from the state accreditation report, and so it's those who do not meet chronic absenteeism. So that means they are here they don't miss 17.5 days. So if you are 17 days or less, you are considered good attendance because that's 10% of our school year.
Have you identified like one main problem that is defined by chronic absenteeism, or is it several different things?
It's several. It tends, for some, it's families not calling in, or some who will take trips, but typically, last year I looked at the data to see like, okay, is it a common subgroup? Is it a common grade level? And there wasn't. It just is, within some families, students not coming to school. So, yeah, which is unfortunate, but we're hoping that we can meet with them and just continue to get them to see the value of being here.
Let the board know too, the state is having a lot of conversations about chronic absenteeism and both its connection to state report cards or school report cards and just in general how it's factored. And I think it's a worthy conversation because I think it's, the goal is to increase attendance across the state for students, and that's a great goal because if students are here, they can learn more and sequentially they can learn in a better flow. However, how they're going about it right now and how they're tying it to the report card is very challenging for schools because I do know some of the conversations that Ms. Chavez is having, and sometimes it's as simple as, you know what, they just didn't want to come today and I didn't make them. And we try to partner with them, we try to have conversations about the importance of that mindset for kids and what they're learning, but sometimes apart from consequences and rewards, it's just trying to change that mindset, and that's challenging for some, especially when you look at her numbers, 96% attendance. It's awesome. We're not talking about a widespread problem. We're talking about 10% of kids who their families struggle with this particular area, and so it's a challenge worth trying to tackle, but there are some limitations with it too, and I'm glad the state is looking at that particular area. So.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's great job.
Now moving on to the middle school. Our demographics are here. Our biggest change this year is in our student enrollment. We are down 22 students because we sent such a big class up to the high school. You're welcome, Mr. Gould. And so it's just amazing what you see in the hallways and the smaller amount of kids going in and out. The teachers, like, it's more doable because the class sizes were 36. It was really hard to teach last year with what they had, and so that number right there is probably the biggest difference that you see with our demographics. Our attendance rate looks about like it did this time last year, and I will tell you we're fighting the same fight that Mrs. Chavez is fighting. What we do, I had talked with a parent the other day. Her child had missed 8 days in the first 9 weeks, and she was like, I just don't see that that's a big deal. And I said, well, that's 56 class periods. And she was like, oh, when you say it that way, so just trying to make them see some things. And we send Officer Holcomb if we have a student that is not here and that they haven't called in consecutive days, we'll do a house visit. And this happened on Friday, and the student answered the door, and mom said, I just can't get her to go. And so now, you know, it's just seeing that we're there to support you. We'll help you get her here. And she called and thanked us profusely for, thank you for showing her the importance of that. Maybe this will help me get her there. So just being on the side of the parent, talking through them with this, you know, all of this. And I think a lot of times it's just, you know, the student is kind of calling the shots. And so we're trying to let them see that, hey, you got to be here. We have things to do. Changes that we're seeing at the middle school. We've made some changes to our electives. We had a few electives that we noticed that kids were not choosing to enroll in those electives, and we thought, well, there has to be a reason for that, so let's change a few things up. So what we did was we added forensics. It has been a highly sought after elective this year. They're, you know, getting fingerprints. The other day I walked through the hall and I start pulling things off the wall. I'm like, why are these stuck up here? And then my fingerprints were all over something, and I became the guilty party in some activity that they were doing. So they're really enjoying that class. RISE, that class is, and I forget it every time, so I wrote it down. Refine, which is communication skills. Impress, succeed, and excel. And so what they've been doing recently is walking through the hallway. They'll go into a teacher, they'll introduce themselves, stick out their hands, and just introducing someone else. So they're going around using their communication skills to speak with adults. And so that is something that a lot of our kids, since the use of technology, we've kind of lost that. So we're working to get our kids to be more comfortable speaking to adults, and it's really been a fun class to watch them and go in and visit them and see what they're doing in there. Storytelling through art, so they're drawing pictures, just using art and telling stories that way. And then math and action. They always ask, why do I need to know this? Well, here is why you need to know this. This is what you will be doing. So they've been figuring out percentages and taxes, and kids have decided they don't like taxes and they shouldn't have to pay them. And so lots of different things that they're doing in there that's really been successful, and so having a lot of fun with that. So all of them are hands-on, and kids are excited about them. Changes for us. We have 5 new teachers in the middle school this year, along with 2 new assistants. So that's a huge change with our small staff. They've all been positive and very beneficial as a whole. So we've been really excited about that. We added a 0 policy in our handbook. If a student has a 0 in the grade book, they're required to take semester tests. We have Bronco time during the day, and so kids have to do this on their own. Go check to see if you have any zeros. Go to the teacher, find out what it is, and they have a 2-week period to get this fixed. And they're on top of it. They don't want, it's all because of that semester test they don't want to take. And so they check their attendance to make sure that, you know, they don't have any absences recorded that they didn't know about, and they also check to see if they have any zeros. And they're taking it upon themselves to go to their teacher to find out, do I have a 0? What is it in? What paper is it? What do I need to do? Or if they think they turned it in or it was just in their locker. So we've had a lot of success with that, and the teachers are really pleased with it, because kids last year were just saying, I'll take the 0 and then, you know, just lower my grade. That's fine. So that's been great. Relationship building, these are the things that we do. Bronco time, which I just talked about, a time that they have like a homeroom class where they will meet and check in on all their assignments, all their absences. The village program, continuing that. Right now we're getting funds and buying jackets for kids who don't have jackets for the cold weather. A snowball dance coming up in December. Those are always fun. Bronco games. We will be doing that sometime before Christmas, just kind of build relationships with the kids and see their teachers in a different light. Purple tickets for positive things. Teachers' pets. We have parents coming in, bring in lunch for our teachers and feed them, and teachers are really pleased with that. Pep assemblies, just to have some fun, and field trips. Today we took 360 of them and walked to the SNU basketball exhibition game. The whole middle school went. We all came back. We had a great time. There were no problems. We had lots of compliments on how well behaved that they were at the game. So that's a positive, because that's always something you worry about. Success stories. This year, Mrs. Wetwiska said she added whiteboards to her walls, so they're just kind of hanging at different things, and she has kids go up and work in groups, work together to solve problems. So she said that is cooperation and engagement. She loves the use of those. Mr. Holliday talked about special education, bought the under desk feet ellipticals, so they're just like sit on the floor and the kids can move their feet. Thought it was going to be a disaster and the kids would just, you know, use them in the wrong way, but it has been wonderful. They sit there, use it. We've even talking about getting maybe a grant and getting more of those into the regular ed classroom as well. So it just helps those kids with hyperactivity and those that need the cues and reminders to pay attention. So a great success with that. Acceptance and joy of our students have brought to the new student in our district. This is from a parent. As a parent, it makes me proud to have my child as a part of this school. It is teaching him something much greater than reading and math. And so that a parent just sees how they're treating new students, and so that was nice to hear. Students really love the Glow Day in 8th grade science. Students use black light to conduct an investigation about how specific adaptations help some organisms survive when there's a change in their environment. And so when they went in, they were supposed to wear fluorescent clothes, and they had a whole day of working with the black light. Here are the middle school scores, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. The blue is our reading, and the red is our math, green is our science. These are our 6th grade pulled apart. So we have the, this year in the dark purple, the state in the lime green, and then last year's score is in the blue. ELA made a really big jump there in our 6th grade. 7th grade, the same. We're still high above the state average there. And then our 8th grade. A lot of this, teachers and I have had a lot of talk. They weren't satisfied with these scores, and they just are really concerned. They said that it was really hard with the total number of kids that they had in their classrooms all at one time, and managing the discipline and getting the kids on task and getting through some of those things. So we've had a lot of conversations about these, and they were not satisfied and looked to better those, but still well above the state average. Okay, update on our SMART goals from last year. Our first goal was to increase math scores by 5% on the state test by implementing progress learning program to increase depth of knowledge questioning on daily assignments and tests. The results, we only had a 3% average. We did have an increase, but it wasn't to the 5%. The second goal was increase reading scores this year by 10% on the OSTP by identifying our essential standards, implementing greater use of Reading Plus to target specific skills for individual results. Our result, it doesn't show it on there, but it was 19%. So we went way above on that one. So the average was at 19%. So did work really well on that goal. And for this next year, we are working at 90% of our students will achieve on grade level or a year's growth in Reading Plus. So Reading Plus is something that we are using where students read at their level. There is a bar that goes across that they have to read within this bar. It keeps their eyes tracking and moving through that. The teachers have had great success with this. So we take a beginning of the year, a middle of the year, and end of the year. So that's why they chose the Reading Plus part of that, because they wanted to be able to monitor it through the year. So one at the beginning, middle, and end. So students, some of them start below grade level. We want to see them grow at least a grade. Some of them are already above grade level. We'd like to see them grow a grade as well, but if not, they're at least reading on grade level or above. And then the second goal, 90% of our students will achieve on grade level or a year's growth on their math star benchmarks. Again, we chose this one because we can monitor that through the year and not just a test at the end of the year. So looking to see growth for that. Any questions?
Actually, could you go back to the state averages of the 3 different grades? I'm just, so that's 6th grade, and then 7th grade, about there, and then 8th grade. Just seems like that one dips down, except for science, that one dips down quite a bit across the state. I'd be curious what's behind that a little bit.
Yeah.
But it also explains some of the variance in scores probably for our students as well.
Sure, yeah.
You mentioned 5 new teachers at the middle school. Remind me, how many teachers do we have at the middle school?
22.
22, so close to 25%.
Yes. Yes. We have a new science teacher, 2 new science teachers, a new math teacher, and then we added Spanish full-time into the middle school because instead of sharing the high school, because the grade was so big that we needed her to stay for all of that. So yeah, we just had to replace several. Okay. Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Bellows, you gotta keep me on a clock here, okay? I'll get going here. It's gonna try not to be super long.
I think you've already said half of yours.
Yeah, mine's already
comments,
done.
but-
Just arrows, yeah. Yeah, high school, let's get going. Demographics, the only thing that's really changed for us is just the numbers. The kids pretty much are the same based off of the demographics. Not much has changed from last year. What you see is we had 47 kids from last year, thanks Don Lee, and then an extra, then 70 total in 2 years. So our numbers are just, it's been a challenge to find places for these kids. We've worked with Ms. Chavez about utilizing the STEM building is now half ECC, half elementary school, half high school. That's part of it. We split our room, which is right the east that way. We have one classroom that's split down the middle. That's now a counseling sped room and a Spanish room. We have a full-time Spanish teacher who teaches Spanish 2, Spanish 3, AP Spanish, and she's in a half a room. And she's a brand new teacher with 30 years experience. We just hired her. She was a director of special ed, or a director of Spanish at UConn, and she came here. And she has, done an amazing job. She's so positive, she's awesome, and she has a tiny little room. So we're busting at the seams. We need to have some different conversations about what our goals are. That freshman class is at like 165 right now, and we are at 125. Pretty much is what we're trying to go to, and so we're up 40 plus kids more. It's been challenging, but the demographics for the individuals are pretty much the same from last year. Attendance rate, I couldn't figure out the bar graph, so I apologize, but realistically, we went from 94 to 96%. So we've increased our attendance rate, and it's different. In high school, you have to come to school, or you don't get credit. And if you don't get credit, you don't graduate. And so we've been really hard on the kids about, and Mr. Marshall was kind of taking the bull by the horn and just saying, listen, if you don't show up, this is what happens. Saturday school happens, all the things occur. We need you to be here because you lose instructional time like they talked about previously. Safety and security, one thing you notice, if you ever come to the high school, we're 98% successful on this. I want it to be 100, but I can't guarantee it. You'll see everybody wears these. They may not like it, but they wear them. And I may be on them all the time about it, but it is something that I'm passionate about, and I think it's just a no-brainer. I should be able to walk into the high school, and everybody should have one. If they don't have one, I tell them, go get a paper one. If they do it again, then it becomes more consequences that come with it. But realistically, everybody has an ID, and we wear it. And then on the bottom of the IDs for the high school kids, they have their barcode for checking out library books and cafeteria stuff for food. So they just scan it. It makes logical sense to me for IDs, safety and security. We already talked about this, vape detectors. This is a company we use. If you want to look into it, you're more than welcome to. Zeptiv, I did some research, and this one just kind of stuck out to me and had some really good success stories. I called a couple schools, and they used it. Right now we have this big one that's the battery powered. The battery sits right here. And then if you go into the boys' bathroom, you'll see there's a cage above it that it's really cool. If you touch it, it'll send me an alert saying that somebody's tampering with it. So one of the kids that got in trouble for was because they were tampering. They were taking wet paper towels to try to cover up the motion detector right here and the vape detector, so they were covering it with paper towels, and then it sent me an alert that something's going on. So I walk in there and it just smells, of course, of all sorts of stuff. And so then we, of course, have that conversation. But yeah, we are Dr. Bellows and Dr. Jasper, and we met with Ms. Donnelly about installing one in every bathroom that we have just to help stop this influx. This is a problem, not just a Bethany problem. I don't want anybody to think that we're the problem. It's not just us. It is a constant problem for high school kids. Piedmont has it. You ask anybody in education, UConn, Piedmont, it doesn't matter where you're at nationally. It's easy to get, and it's easy to blow smoke, and you can't really detect it because it's almost honestly vaporless. They can blow it into their shirt, and you'd never even know. You might smell a little fruity or a little minty, and that's it. They're little. Now they got them the size of a pencil or a pen that are smaller. They can just hit it real quick, put it away, you'd have no idea. But it's an epidemic, and so we're trying to stop it. And so this is something that we feel, I know we feel strongly about, and Dr. Bellows and Dr. Jasper said, green light, go get it. If you're willing to fight it, which I am, so are the rest of my staff. We're gonna fight it, and we're gonna continue this fight as long as we can. But it's something that it does cost some money, but using some of our funds, I think it's going to be really helpful and successful in the future. That's our vape detectors. It's one of our big pushes. The next one, this is data. I told you about this. I was averaging about 10 or so hits a day on my phone, text message. And once we started having kids with consequences, it's really dwindled down, guys, dramatically. I mean, you're getting, I think I didn't have any today. Friday I had 1. Thursday I had like 2. Then on Wednesday, nothing. It's just, I don't know if it's seasonal or if it's hourly, but realistically, it's been really, really successful. The tampering one's been interesting too. If they touch it, it says sends me an alert. So if they throw something at it, they touch it, sends me an alert. I go in there, grab the kids. Hey, what are you doing? Don't mess with this. It's school property. It's just like damaging a computer. It's expensive. They're really expensive. So don't mess with it. Positivity and outreach. One of the things I wanted to add and talk about is not always doom and gloom. Not always about safety and security and vapes and IDs and all that stuff. One thing we do that I don't know if you guys know much about this, and I found this out really the last couple of months, was we have a food pantry here at the high school, and we provide food for 50 plus families every week. And Mrs. Albright, Miss Ross, we have some middle school helpers too as well in elementary that help donate to this, guys. And it's amazing. This is our student council kids organizing this and getting ready for the big week that's coming up here with Thanksgiving and with Christmas, the holiday season. And it's been really amazing to see, I mean, just community come together and kids know. And we do it as, I wouldn't say clandestine, I would say it as discreet as possible. So we're not like, hey, you're lower income, we're gonna give you food. We do it where it's after school, they come by, they get a bag, it's very low key, and it's been really, really good to see. I really enjoyed that part of it. Talk about our SMART goals. This is something I definitely am passionate about as well. This is when you look at the data, it's weird because I think there's 5 offerings of the ACT nationally. For anybody can take it at any time, 5 different times. You can take it a residual test too at the actual college, which is a separate one, but the national test, I'm looking at just when we're required to take it as a state. The state says in April you have to take it. So we take it, and these are our averages. I had to disaggregate the data and see like, okay, well it says we're at 20.2 or 19.1. Okay, that's for all of it. I'm looking at it just in April, the 125, 130 kids that take it. And this is what we saw. In 2020, 2021, that's when we were first told we have to give it to everybody. And when the state said that, we had 133 kids, we had a 19.9 average. Well then 2 years ago, 21-22, we had 126 kids take it, and we had a 20.6 average. Well then last year, we went back down a little bit. It's kind of been floating around that high 19, low 20 average, and I don't think that's acceptable. I don't. I think we're better than that. We're better in Bethany. How do we get that solved? I think Olympia Prep is a good starting point. It starts in the classroom, but I think adding Olympia Prep will give us kind of the next level. There's no reason schools like Edmond North would be the best example I can give you. They're 3 times our size, and their ACT score is like a 24, 25 average. How do they do it? How can we be better than that? We have a population that's smaller. We should be higher. Theirs is bigger, and they're higher. Like, we got to figure something out. And so I think really it starts with, this is our goal. It's a lofty goal. We're going to go from 19 and some change, almost 20, to go up to 22. I'm asking for a 2-point plus increase. I know it's lofty, but if you don't have high expectations, what are you doing? You need to expect things extremely high for your kids, and they'll reach it. They'll get as close as they can, and we're going to work hard on this. And so we're going to try in April to do this. If you look at our data right now, we had 15 kids take the test already in 23-24, and the average is a 22.4. But again, that's 15 kids. Those are the kids that want to take it, that want to do good in it. We're looking for the general population, hit the most bang for our buck. How do we do this? This is what Olympia Prep does. I got just a shortened version of the 3 things they're going to provide for us for the money that we paid. And then obviously I know the teaching, the classroom side of it's big as well. I wanted to talk about Olympia Prep just so you guys knew what was going on with them. The guy that started, his name's Carl Francel. He's more than welcome. Like, he actually was talking to me. He said, hey, can I come to the board meeting? I said, don't come yet. Let's see if they approve all this stuff. If they approve it, then maybe you can come by and do a speech. He gets longer winded than I do, so I'll keep him on a time clock as well. But first thing I want to do is I want to expose the kids. There is no doubt the data will prove that if you can expose kids, the more times they take it, the better they get. If you start kids taking it as freshmen or sophomores, they're going to do better by the time they get to junior and senior year. It's just being exposed to it. Just not being concerned and like, oh no, it's Saturday morning after a basketball game or a football game, and I got to wake up and go take this mythical, mysterious test, and it's going to determine whether or not I go to college. Well, no, it's just another test to show what you know. And I think that exposure is big. And so what they have is they have the mock test, practice test. They will come in, they will run it through software, and the kids will get instant feedback that day and know, hey, I made a 24 on this, or hey, I made a 32 on this, or hey, I made a 17. They'll know immediately what they get on that mock test. Second thing, this is everybody on campus can do it, and it's on campus like we're doing it. The second thing, this one is before the spring testing. Every junior will be broken down into groups based off their pre-ACT data, and we will say, you know, if you're 12 to 15, you're in this room, 15 to 18 this room, and we'll break it down. They'll have individualized instruction over tips and techniques for 4 hours in the morning, like the morning session will go, and then they'll have an afternoon session too as well. So really the whole entire day of school, they're gonna be just getting ACT prep and workshop. It's gonna be fantastic. We did it at Piedmont, I loved it, saw really good success with it. And then the third one, this is one that is something that they added this last year. They call it the Full Membership Academy. This is what you would pay for if you have your kids go to it. You get a one-on-one individual private tutor that guarantees, I think it's a 3 to 5 point increase. I mean, that's literally what they guarantee on their website if you do this. And so it's 10 spots, so 30 students per year if you do 4 months of the program. So this is something that we will do. We will open this up to the kids and say, if you're interested, if you're a kid that's on that border of, hey, I've got a 29, I want to get to the 30s for more money, or if I want to go from a 20 to a 24, I need to get into OU or that other school. I can't say it after Bedlam, I'm sorry, it was hard for me. But I do think it's important to add that we can do that, and we can get those kids another tool in their belt to be successful. And I'm not gonna, I can't dive into it as much as Carl can with it, but this is something that he was really like, listen, we didn't do this in Piedmont, we're adding it to you guys. I think it's gonna be really helpful for you moving forward. So those are kind of my SMART goals of what I'm looking at to get through the high school. Questions for me at all about it? We're gonna get there, guys, and it's gonna take a little bit of effort. We're gonna do it, and I'm gonna continue on this path until we get it done. So, hey, they'll figure it out. We're gonna get there. I'm not gonna have people vaping, and you're wear IDs, and we're gonna get better ACT scores. That's reality. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
One thing I want to say too, Mr. Jewell, and just the conversations he's been able to have with parents, because I think what we've seen as we've worked to tackle this problem of vaping is how, in many cases, parents are unaware. How many times they're shocked that he's even calling them that, what, my kid, and that's really what we want to help parents with, is if something is going on with their child, we want them to know that so that they can take steps to help the child. And so again, I appreciate that initiative, and because the conversations have been great and parents have responded well to get their kids help, and we want to try to get them help as many ways as we can. So it's been good.
We don't have, no action on that, right? Do we need an executive session?
That's up to you guys.
Anybody?
Yeah.
Not?
I did have just a quick question on number 21, the advanced math classes. Why is that just through December?
You want to speak to that?
Yeah, so I can talk about the advanced math. Are you talking about the Olympia Prep or just advanced mathematics in general, what we're doing?
Dr. Neunschwander.
Yeah, so Dr. Neunschwander, we obviously we're in a predicament with one of our teachers. I don't know if I'm allowed to say her name.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, so Mrs. Tackett obviously is gone. She teaches AP Stats, AP Calc, AP Pre-Calc, and Honors Geometry. So literally our 4 or 5 hardest classes, and all our eggs were in one basket. And hindsight's 2020. She's been doing it for so long, nobody would have expected this. So we just, Dr. Jasper, Dr. Bellows, Miss Williams, anybody in this room, we literally just were calling everybody we could think of to just try to find anybody. And actually, it was Dr. Schellenberger, of course, who I got a hold of, and he said, hey, there's this guy who just retired from SNU, who is light years ahead of, myself for sure. And he's been teaching advanced calculus in the college level for the last 30 years and literally wrote the book on it. And I just begged, borrowed, and stealed, and I just said, hey, listen, help me out. I need you to teach second, third, fourth, and fifth hour from now until Christmas. It's about 25, 30 days. And then at Christmas, there's a student who's graduating from SNU with his advanced mathematics degree who we've been trying to work behind the scenes to see if he's interested. He's definitely interested. It's trying to figure out how to work it where you have to fill out some waivers because he's not fully certified yet. But he would essentially come in and take over the courses. And God willing, we hope that Mrs. Tackett will be back, with her chemo and her treatment as soon as we can. I mean, she's been very optimistic and positive and up here when she can, but we just don't know that date. And so we had to do something, and that's why using it at Olympia Prep for tutoring is just another avenue. Hey kids, you don't have the same treatment you'd give with Mrs. Tackett. Let's use another outside source to help them. Dr. Neuenschwander, come in, fill in the gaps that we can't fill in because when you start talking AP statistics, we didn't even offer it at Piedmont. It was such a high level class. You only offered AP Calc. AP Stats is one of those courses just not offered. People don't offer it. It's so high level that it takes a very special person to teach it. So having Dr. Neuenschwander come in there, I've talked to him multiple times, and guys, he is on a different level. I'm serious. That's no joke. You guys talk to him. You'll see.
He's a good find.
Very intelligent.
He's amazing. I'm very, very happy he's here.
Thank you.
Questions on any of that?
Okay, motion to approve items 16 through 21.
Second?
Roll call vote.
Jaggers,
Yes.
Palmer,
Yes.
Wallstad,
Yes.
Pettit.
Yes. Informational items.
No informational items.
Okay. Board member comments.
Congratulations to cross country.
Absolutely. It's fantastic.
And is cheerleading?
This Saturday.
Yeah.
I think we need some more paint for the water field.
We barely got it. He was working on the other ones. It's like we had the PO, and it was already. And we're like, by the way, we're gonna do another. So it happened the same weekend he's working on it. We're like, hey, could you add another one?
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny, but it's done now.
It's good.
It's good timing, I guess.
Yeah.
Because he was already there working on it.
We're gonna have to start making those in like smaller fonts.
That's right.
Well, so it kind of did already. I mean, if you go by it and see it, like even boys cross country, it's a lot longer than the ones that were up there. So it had to be a little bit smaller font, but it's good to have it up there and hopefully add some more.
Thank you to the administrators for the great reports.
Yes.
Yeah.
All you're doing, driving this boat, so thank you.
Let's see. So, superintendents.
Sure, thank you. So first, this kind of goes along with what we've already been talking about, but I know it's easy sometimes we get some needs filled and that it kind of out of sight, out of mind at that point, but I just want to take a second to thank Mr. Elgin, who's covering an orchestra for us, a long-term sub, Mrs. Blood, who's helped with math, Ms. Prince, who's helped in band, and Dr. Neuenschwander, who's helped us also in math. One, the work that has gone into finding these people, but also really just for them. And in most of these cases, they're helping because we need help. It's not financially life-changing to them to do this, but they know we have a need and they're passionate about helping out. So we're just grateful for all those people who have filled in, and it's good for our kids, and so we appreciate them. We mentioned some of the extracurricular activities. Boys and girls cross country. We had kids from both teams qualify for state, and of course our boys cross country team won its first ever state championship. Very exciting, but also exciting. The community that was there to support those kids was awesome. Not comparable to anyone else that was there. I mean, our stands were full, and it was time to cheer them on. over there on the side when they're still finding out the scores, it was just a different kind of atmosphere that you don't often see with cross country. And I appreciate our community supporting everyone in the same way as they always do. High school football, congratulations to them. They've made the playoffs. That'll be this Friday at Clinton. So we wish them well. Cheer was mentioned, and they not only did they qualify for state, which will be this Saturday on the 11th, but they actually finished the region first out of 40 teams as well. So I know they're excited going into state. It'll be a whole different group of judges, things like that, but they're certainly prepared, and they've worked very hard and very optimistic about their chance this Saturday. That is in Moore High School, and their times, it'll be around 2 o'clock, but they have some preliminary, and then the actual final competition will be, I think, around 3:30 or just after 3:30. So we'd love to see people come out and support that. Middle school and high school orchestra had a great performance last Thursday, and just listening to it, what I expect to see sometimes in middle school orchestra is the occasional, and it just didn't happen, and it didn't happen in any of the performances, and you just see them grow from middle school. Within that one concert, it's kind of cool because you see the middle school all the way up to high school, and just outstanding their performance. Band, big congratulations to them receiving superior ratings at Regional Marching Band. Also at the Conowal Marching Festival, first in 4A Small, outstanding drum line of the day, outstanding color guard of the day, and best field show of the day. So we see our band perform on Friday nights, and it's impressive and awesome, but it's good to see them be rewarded in that way also. And then in choir, this is ongoing, but we had several students who competed in all-state choir, and every student who tried made it to the second round of all-state, which is coming up. But again, congratulations to all of those students who made it to the second round, so we'll wish them well also. Schools, thank you for the site improvement plans. Just seeing what you guys are doing with the students, with the teachers is awesome, and I would tell the board, we have great leaders. We really do. They're passionate, they're here for kids, they are great with their staff, they collaborate with them. I see it on a day-to-day basis, and we certainly appreciate your leadership and what you're doing. And the results are there, and they'll continue to come because of you guys' heart and your passion for that. Elementary STEAM Night was awesome. That just occurred this past week as well. Again, the community partnership that we have in making that a fun night for elementary kids is awesome. And some upcoming events, we have Veterans Day celebrations, plural, they're on different days this year. So middle school, high school is going to be on Thursday, and elementary school is going to be on Friday during roundup time, I believe. So a couple of different opportunities to honor our veterans, and again, I would just say publicly, we can't thank them enough for their sacrifice for our country and for us, and what we get to benefit from. And also just from their families' perspective, it's not just the people who serve, but the people who surround them and support them. It's a big sacrifice for them too. So I just appreciate everyone out there who is in our armed forces, and we look forward to celebrating our veterans. And then big night tomorrow night, Foundation Impact Auction, and our foundation is incredible. Just the amount of work that has gone into this one night, which is the biggest night of the year for our foundation. Most of our grants that they will be looking at and approving will come from this one night. So anyone who has bought a ticket, which by the way, I think we've sold more tickets than we've ever sold before. And by the GroupMe that I'm a part of with the foundation, we've got some awesome prizes. It seems like every day it's so-and-so got more, so-and-so got more. So there's going to be a lot of things to auction for and be a part of, but it's also just a great night. So we appreciate the foundation and look forward to a great evening tomorrow. So that is my superintendent's report.
We're adjourned.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.